What's happening, guys? Cap over here, and welcome to week 3 of the UBC League, or as you guys know, UBC. Anywho, we're taking on Hallu, coach of the G.O.G.O.A.T. Hallu G.O.G.O.A.T. That's the team's name. If you want to check them out, be sure to look in the description down below, and be sure to smash that like button to show your love for the Toronto SwabluJays. As we're gonna try to keep our winning ways going our way. Question mark. Happy smile. Winky face. Yeah. Anywho, we're not going to spend a lot of time on the team builder just because I didn't really have a lot of time to team build, and I just slapped a lot of things together. So his team should be popping up. We have a fairly good matchup. It's pretty straightforward. I decided to go with a pretty offensive team over here, as I saw that he had a pretty offensive team, and I figured, you know, maybe my offense will take on his offense and we can see what happens at that point. Rock Polish pretty much will sweep his team if his team is weakened. Mega Dancy has a pretty big role in terms of that. Diamond Storm, Moonblast, Earth Power, pretty simple. Scissor is pretty good in this team against this team because Choice Bandit Bullet Punch that is adamant actually really does a lot of work against his team. Especially with the combination of like Dugtrio and Scissor. It's pretty nice because I can potentially weaken his team down to a point where either Dugtrio comes in, finishes it off, or Scissor comes in and finishes it off. So that's how we're going to play it around. And this Triple D is actually Choice Scarf just because it will outspeed Mega Low Funny, it will outspeed Tapu Koko, and Earthquakes is just a devastating attack on him. So I'm anticipating like a Shed Shell on one of his sets, so I got to just figure out what it is. Pretty much that's the name of the game with Dugtrio, and after that after I figure it out, then I'll be pretty nice at that point. Next up we have Zapdos, Zapdos, Zappy the God, who's making an appearance once more, really appearing in a lot of the games. With Discharge, Whirlwind, U-Turn, and Roost, pretty much I didn't want to get set up via Cresselia with Calm Minds. That would be horrible. If that happens, then I don't know what to do, which is why I decided to slap on Whirlwind. It's just a good defensive mon to bring on against this team, and potentially the Static and the Rocky Helmet will put Low Punny, Diggersby or something in range where Scissor can come in and potentially just take it down. So that's sort of my game plan. A lot of it is just Scissor and Dugtrio just really dominating this game, and if Dancy can come in and late game, then you know that's pretty sweet. Next up we have Boomerang, Shadow Bone, Stealth Rocks, and Fire Punch. Pretty much he has a Tapu Koko, so I figured, you know, I should probably bring a solid check to that. I didn't really have a lot of things for Tapu Koko outside of Marowak, so this was just a solid bring to bring into the game, having one of the few Pokemon that can actually nullify Tapu Koko, so that's always nice. Plus, he doesn't really have a lot of answers to Boomerang and Shadow Bone or Fire Punch. So if I can set up Stealth Rocks, that would be awesome. That sort of nullify the Talonflame quite a bit. And then finally we have Brother Grimm with the Assault Fist, Iron Fist, Drain Punch, Bullet Punch, Knockoff, and Earthquake. Pretty much it's meant to take on the Hydreigon. It can take a hit from Tapu Koko, which is pretty cool, and it can take on a couple other things, so that's always nice, not too shabby. But let's just jump into the game, and we'll see what happens at that point and see what he brings in. Alright, so we're back here, and he brought in a Talonflame, Megalophony, Apollyon, Jirachi, Hydreigon, and the Diggersby. So right away I'm thinking that either Jirachi or Hydreigon are especially defensive. Apollyon or Jirachi have the Shed Shell, and then probably his defensive Pokemon over here could either be an Apollyon or Talonflame. Either or would make sense, just because he could scout out for that and whatnot. Even a Mega Apollyon or Apollyon doesn't really add up for defensive, so Talonflame could totally be a defensive variant with just Will-O-Wisp, Roost, and just other annoyances. So I'm just gonna link up with Zapdos over here. It's a pretty good lead, considering, you know, it does well against an Apollyon, it does well against lead Jirachi, it does well against Low Punny or Talonflame, and yeah. So let's get it on. Let's get it on. I'm just gonna go for a Discharge. Any damage on this thing would be fantastic, so it allows Scissor to come in, let my Pokemon breathe a bit more. And he ends up going for an Agility, which is pretty gutsy of him to go, as I didn't expect him to go for a Agility, as he saw that I had the Discharge, and I think after 2 Discharges and the potential chance of getting paralyzed, then it would have been a possibility. So to my surprise, he stayed in, and I'm just gonna go right into Scissor, keep on applying that pressure. I'm just gonna go for Bullet Punch because I'm like, I'm on the driver's seat, but he brings in Talonflame with the Flame Body. I'm like, oh dang, that sucks, because that means my Swarm Scizor, which is not Technician, actually can't do a lot of damage to this thing. Bullet Punch would have been fantastic. It would have just been absolutely fantastic. And now I'm just going to switch into my Zapdos, and I'm like, oh dang, Swords Dance, Talonflame is frightening. Inferno Overdrive, well that's horrifying. I have to go into my Choice Scarf right over there, and I can't play around with this thing, so I'm just going to go for Rock Tomb, get a bit of damage off, and that works out for me as I just bring out Scizor once more as he brings out Diggersby. And I can't let this thing set up, so I'm just going to go for a Super Power at this point. I don't think he knows that I'm Choice Banded or something, but I just end up going for a Super Power. Fully fine by me, as he ends up going back into Talonflame. And I'm like, alright, this Talonflame is gonna be relatively annoying. I do still have T-Swizzle, good switch out for me to go right into it, as I threatened this thing out with just a Diamond Storm. As he ends up going to Jirachi, I decided this was a good opportunity for me to actually click the Rock Polish. And a bit of a misplay on my part, because it just would have been smart to just click Earth Power and simply just get some damage on this Jirachi to see what it is. Most likely it's a defensive variant, or especially defensive variant, as I can just go right into Uka over here and keep on applying some pressure as I set up my South Rocks, which is nice for me, but he ends up being a default Hydreigon, and my rocks are gone, which means Talonflame is still a thing. And I get T-Swizzle once more again, and he brings out Jirachi. So this is obviously his switch into Jirachi. And yeah, he's a lot of it is me not making the proper plays and not making the proper predictions, as he's just taking full advantage of me just not really anticipating a lot of things at this moment. Uka's just going to come back in, and he has nothing to really hit them alone Marowak with Jirachi. It pretty much was made to take on Diancie, from my understanding of his move selection. And I end up making just a middle ground play, just going for a Fire Punch. Mainly because it hit his team pretty well, and it allowed me to really get some momentum up. As he ends up bringing his Apollyon, and I decide to just simply attack this thing because I didn't want to deal with any shenanigans. I maybe could have caught it on a setup or something, but ends up being a relatively interesting set, and I don't have anything to take on this incoming Hydro Pump. And I can just simply go right into Spawn, take out the Apollyon. That's a big threat, sort of a big threat gone. And I'm just going to absorb this hit. I thought maybe, hey, he could miss it or something, but he ends up landing it. No surprise over there, I deserve it, as I can just trap this thing, go for an Earthquake, and simply knock this Mega Lopunny out. Doing what Dugtrio needed to do, as he ends up bringing his Talonflame. Gotta sack something off at this moment, as he makes the better play, going for a Roost. And he's simply taking out my Uka at this point. So at this moment, I accidentally make a misclick over here. There is no point of me bringing out Pangoro, and he allows me to switch out because he's a pretty good guy. It doesn't really matter because it just changes differential if I play it properly. And this is where I sort of just pick up a momentum, making aggressive doubles over here, get the Jirachi out here, and I just go for a knockoff, getting rid of it. And at this point, it's just me just playing 1+1, you know, just keep on applying pressure. He goes right into the Brave Bird, takes out my Mon, and he ends up staying in here, which is relatively interesting because I end up taking out his Talonflame. I guess he could have lost with a Stone Edge, but I didn't pack Stone Edge, which is a bad play on my part, as that's GG for him. We will lose 1-0, and this wasn't a bad, nor was it a good game. I was just disappointed in myself and my team building, and we actually did make up some trades at the end of this week. We are trading out, which will be effective week 5. We end up trading our Cloister, Pangoro, and Scizor for Tapabulu to CJ, actually, choice CJ, and we got the Tapabulu, like I said. So with that, I had a lot of free extra points, so I decided to drop Roserade. That's right, we got rid of 4 Pokemon from our roster, and we brought in Toxapex, Bisharp, and the Tapabulu. So we got in 3 solid Pokemon. I'm really happy with the trades and transactions that we made. We're still debating on the final Pokemon. That's going to be announced probably later on in the week. But yeah, pretty happy about it just because it gives me a solid Pokemon that I can switch in. Gives me different defensive options. It's sort of an answer to ground moves. It adds a lot more pressure to like water types, ice types. Because my team didn't really have a lot of answers to special attacks, barring like ice attacks, barring water attacks. So it's nice to have that switch in being Toxapex. That's so annoying. It gives me the option of setting up Toxic Spikes, which is something that I love playing with. And Bisharp is just such a good Pokemon to complement with Toxapex, a good Pokemon to complement with different mons, and Dugtrio complements all 3 of those mons so well, especially Tapabulu too. It is fantastic. So I'm pretty happy with the team now, how it's looking. It gives me a lot more options for team building, and I'm really looking forward to the next couple weeks playing with it. But next week we are going to be taking on the Blackmount Raikous. I do apologize if I said that wrong. I'm pretty bad with team names. And hopefully we can continue on our winning ways. I spent a bit more time team building, so I'm looking forward to the battle. And we're going to get going. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.